Mark Jewelers, guarantee for quality and best exchange value.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of From a Mother to Another. And this is Sandy Banerjee. And this is where you get to hear from moms around the world. Our today's topic is teen parenting. And we have two awesome moms who are joining us to talk about that. Please join me in welcoming Raji and Ajapa to the show. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Good. Doing
Good.
great.
Good. Considering everything.
Right, exactly, right? Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much for being in the show. I really appreciate you taking the time and being here today.
My pleasure.
So before we jump into the questions, and this is a hot topic, but before we jump into all the questions, let's do a round of introduction. Raji?
Hello. Yeah, I'm from Bay Area. So I'm a teacher by profession, math teacher, and I have two kids. I don't know, I can call them kids anymore because one is already working, 23 years, and the second one is 20 years, third year of college.
Awesome. Ajapa?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ajapa Mukherjee. I'm from a suburb of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We live in an area called Murraysville. We've been here for about 10 years now. I've been in the States for over 34 years, married, two kids, a son in college. He's a sophomore. And then I have a 13-year-old daughter who's in middle school.
Nice. Awesome. So let's talk about the transition to teens, right? So how was the transition from a preteen or a tween to the teen years? Ajapa?
Very rocky. When I always say that when my son was born, when both my children were born, I never had a to-go book. They never came with instructions. So every step between birth to preteen to teen to even 20 has been a new learning process, a new learning curve. Some rocky, some not so rocky. It has been smoother with my daughter than my son, if I could say that. Yeah.
How about you, Raji?
Yeah, for me, I think I feel the other way. It's easy. I think maybe it's with the older ones, it's like harder, I feel like.
Yeah.
So by the time the second one, we learn a lot of mistakes, and they're also watching us, where it is getting hurt. So they're learning. The second one is always like observing and learning. So it's a little more easy. We are also like, we know what happened with the first one. This is not, our anxiety levels are less by the time the second one. The first one for me also, I don't know. I feel like a lot of things I didn't know that time. I wish I could have known that earlier.
Sure.
Then I need to go back and redo it or something.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So what are the good things of having a teenage kid? Like, there are a lot of challenges, but all the time, moms of younger kids, they think that when will they grow up? When will they be independent, right? So what are the good things of having a teenage kid around? Raji?
I feel like, especially if you have a girl, you get to share your things, like all these new trends we are learning from them.
Right.
It's a little bit, I don't know how to put it. We many parents like we feel like with the cultural shock and all whether this is the right way or the wrong way, but we are learning. We are now looking back into that. We are like, oh my god, yeah, it's a big transition, big change, but a lot of things we learn with them. Starting with their makeup, the friendship. How much importance they are giving to the friendship. So again, it is first one. It's again the tough situation. Second one, we are like being more friendly with them,
Right.
even with the weights they use, everything. First one is like, oh, it's like, can you even use stupid like that? Sorry, I don't know, I can use it here.
Sure, absolutely.
But the second one, we are like, oh, you're okay with it. We are like
Right.
cool with that. Like lot of that things we are learning with.
Second one is
Yeah,
lucky, right?
yeah, yeah.
Right. How about you, Ajappa?
Good things. It was nice having an extra pair of hands helping out. My husband travels a lot. So once my son became a little bit, he's always been very responsible. But as he grew older, I felt like I could depend on him more. Um, Especially after he started to drive, he would take my daughter to to her activities, or maybe even just run to the grocery store, pick up a gallon of milk, like little things like that.
Right.
Um, and then with my daughter, um, she teaches me. I learn so much from her. My son taught me patience. My daughter, she doesn't realize, but she kind of pushes me to do things. Again, keeping current, keeping current with all the issues, things that I might not know, the latest trends, things like that. So there's definitely um, there are negatives, but I think the positives kind of like outweigh. And at the end of the day, I'm just so blessed. They're both very responsible. They do help out around the house whenever I ask. With my son, maybe it takes a little bit of prodding, but then my daughter, she's always there. And of course, now that I have them home, 24/7, um, it's nice. It's as much as I hate what's going on, out there, but it's nice to have them home and be that extra help. The four of us have never been together, and they're learning, and I'm learning everything new.
I can imagine. Right. So let's talk about the challenges. If you were to name top two, right? Challenges of having a teenage kid. Ajappa?
Challenges.
That's why I said
Again,
top
it
two.
was. I can name a few. The top two, I don't know. It's hard to pick. Definitely the mood. I had to get used to my son's. It changed. He changed from like talking to me, and then he went to talking to his dad more.
Mhm.
With my daughter, I think she talks to both of us. She's very open. So I don't know if it's a challenge, but my way is like I keep prodding. Um,
I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Raji, how about you?
Yeah, the challenge, like two things I have to put, like the peer pressure, how much they are, that peer importance in their life, and it is shocking for us,
Oh my God.
the
Yeah.
way they're going. Yeah. Then the second one is the expectations, like coming the same level with their expectations about the future, like our expectations and their expectations.
Sure.
We feel like they're settling down, and we always want that big achievers there.
Right.
It's finally we are like, okay, by the second one we are like, okay, fine, we get it, we get
Right.
your passions, we get your, first one we are like, oh my god, you're capable, you can do this, then why are you not doing it? We are going
Right.
crazy. Then she, I'm happy, mom. Okay, you don't want to go to that highest Ivy League colleges? No, mom. I will be fine here, mom. You will end up in house then. That's okay, mom. So for me, it's like a big experience, with her.
Sure.
And
Right.
when I look now, I'm like, oh my God, why did I spend that much time and stress and anxiety
Right.
and everything? Because kids know. So that challenge, oh, and the friends. Friends are everything for them, no? So yeah. So the definition of friends like changing the good and bad. They'll teach you, like Ajappa said, they'll teach you a lot of things. Our
Right.
definition of good and bad and their definition of good and bad, and we are
Does
like
not match.
amazed. Yeah.
it's always like, you're walking on a tightrope. I feel like I'm always walking on a tightrope, trying to balance.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh wow. Good. So let's talk a little about cyber safety, right? It's a very important issue nowadays, and a very really an important topic of concern for our parents, right? How do you guys ensure that everything is taken care, but you are still setting the boundaries, but again giving them access in whatever way is needed? Raji?
Oh God. Oh, that's the toughest question. I feel like, I want to put it like little more, like what is it? The trust from the child.
Right.
Because trust me, I have like we're doing everything, but still they can go around about it and they can end up whatever they want to do. Trust me, they have all the things, So it's more than that. Like anything, the trust and the belief we are putting into like making them. So that way they're like. I even used emotional blackmailing also. Okay, because mom will get hurt, so I
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
Mom will be like really not screaming. Mom will be really sad. She's really get hurt, so I should be because here the sad part is like they have access to everything. You know,
Right. Yeah.
literally everything. So it is coming from the. It has to come from the child, literally.
Right.
And the main thing I have seen. Okay, you may be stressing out on that small homework or the grade or whatever they are making. They are already upset about their peer pressure or whatever. So these two things pushing them to get into that what is the next level,
Right.
what they can do. They're running in their room, closed doors, behind their doors. What is there for them? And we
Right.
are saying like, okay, we are grounding them. Okay, we are putting them. Okay, fine. They cannot go anywhere. So we were thinking, I have like a lot of experience in that. We were thinking, oh, we are old, everything is switched off. They don't have access to anything. They already figured out another way to get into that. So
Right.
yeah, so it's very, very hard, like the trust and the love, the connection with the child. It's the only
Right.
way. I feel like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's
I
a
don't
good.
yeah.
Right. Ajapa, how about you?
Well, my husband and I definitely we take all the necessary precautions. Everything that could possibly we could subscribe to and install it. We have done it. We've talked. Our school district is very good about talking to the kids. They're always, they try to keep up with the latest. But again, I always tell my kids, it's my job to give you the information. What you do with it, that's your responsibility. And hopefully, they listen. And I know at times it feels like they're not listening, but I know they are because there are things I've talked to my daughter about. There are things I've talked to my son about. And then, as Raji said, you have to trust them to make good decisions. We always say if anything happens, we are always here, but then don't let it get to that position or that, that area or that place. Because again, I mean, we cannot scare them. It's a big bad world out there. As a mom, I want to, but I know I shouldn't. So again, it's kind of placing the trust. And I always say, I trust you. So that, knock on wood, has, it has, I mean, they understand it. But it's so much out there. It is scary. It's very, very scary. There's always something new. Like last week, there was something in the news about the TikTok videos, and I'm like grilling my daughter. Do you use it? Do you not use it? Same thing with Instagram. Any of this, it's like there's so much information. It's information overload for me to even grasp most of it. But hopefully, they listen. I pray to God every day that they're listening to, they're listening, they're paying attention, they are being aware and making right choices.
Right, absolutely. So since we were talking about parental behaviors, right? So how do you ensure that you do show appropriate ways of dealing with them rather than being controlling or manipulating. I'm like, we are always there, right? We're like, okay, if you don't do this, then this. I mean, that comes automatically, I think, right? But how do you ensure you draw the line, right, and not make them overwhelmed, right, Ajapa?
That's a toughie. I think moms, no matter whatever part of the world you're from, we think alike. And I can say that about all of my mom friends, all of my mom colleagues, that we, at a very basic level, we all think alike. Um, when my son was younger, we did we would take away a privilege.
Right.
But that changes when they become teenagers. So I mean, the Indian in me kind of wanted that, that manipulative, but it was like very, very hard. And I know I try my level best, and I probably, even then when they're going to be like 40 and 50, I will still be, struggling. The struggle is within me, not to go that far.
Sure.
As far as that's it. I mean, it's somehow it's with both. It is easier with my daughter than it was with my son. But because their personalities are so different, my son is very outgoing, very social, lots of friends. My daughter she's open with very few, very, very, she's like a very close knit, set of friends, and who she's very close to. So I don't think I've ever done anything drastic. I hope. But I'm sure after watching this, they're going to give me like a list of things that I've done that I shouldn't have done.
Nice.
It's that balancing act, it's the whole thing,
Right.
which no one ever tells you.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah.
No one.
True. Raji, how about you?
Yeah, same here. So one thing I did, it really worked, is like wiping off the past. You know, don't cling on the past, because that trust we are talking about, it's always, many times it got broken, and it's gone. Then I'm like, okay, whatever happened. Let's move on.
Right.
It's I am not going to hold you for that, whatever you did yesterday. Okay, you didn't know that. So we're every day. It's kind of like a getting up and starting over, getting up and starting over. Still, I feel like now they are in their 2023s, okay, fine, that's done. Okay, let's move on, because they're growing, they are struggling, they are going through their own problems, so we are there to, that is one thing helped me. Second one, actually, the from the aggressive behavior to passive behavior, I am like becoming, more aggressive. The older one, they will it's not helpful. So by the time the second one, I'm like, okay, you did something wrong. It's going to affect you. Nothing for. I rather go to. I rather go and do a massage. So literally, I did that one day. I'm like, okay, I'm stressed out. I'm going to do a massage. So you are losing $100 from your saving. Mommy is going to keep it for your future.
That's a good one.
If that much it worked or something, but still, I'm like, relax. Okay, this is not my problem. You have all the things. Okay, you didn't do it. So that little bit scared the second one, because, okay, see, I had to take care of myself, because she's not cared anymore, kind of, putting the
Right.
responsibility on them.
You got the
I
message.
feel like it helped, and showing them the opportunities outside there. Seriously, that's what I tell everyone. Show them, okay, what you're missing. Instead of telling you to get good grades or whatever, show them what is exactly there. Oh my God, this beautiful campus. If you worked hard, you're going to end up there. That kind of themselves initiating something, instead of we telling, oh, you didn't get this, or you didn't do this, all those things. So, yeah, the trust building, rebuilding.
Sure.
On that note, I've stopped reacting. I used to react, when it was to like the negatives. And once I stopped, I think, and like stepped back and
Right.
kind of like ignored it and then addressed it later
Sure.
instead of at the heat of the moment,
Right.
that helped. That really helped.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
So let's talk about emotional breakdown, or those things. They have friends. They go from friends to friends, and everything happens. Their world crashes down, right? So how do you deal with those kind of scenarios, Raji?
Oh, yeah. So it's like
My
giving me like, goosebumps. Like, okay, when they went through that, you know, I was like a very strict, serious parent for at least with the older one. I was working full time, being a math teacher, working at school, then coming back and tutoring. So always that teacher. So I feel sad sometimes, because some things I didn't even know. I was not at all open that time as a mom to my daughter. So I had to admit that. So she came back and told me like after like 12th grade and college and all, mom, 8th grade, you know what? So these are the things happening with me. So I changed her schools. So there's bullying happening, lot of things happening. So but I was like a bad mom. She don't have an opportunity to come back and tell me because I'm like, what's your grade? Okay, we are putting in private school. Okay, you should get A. Why are not you get? That's like typical Indian mom, like boom. It didn't help actually. So that's what they're saying, right? Yeah. So emotional, most of the things I didn't know that, and she took it on the other things like studies and everything. Nobody's understanding me, kind of thing.
right.
But now, after 20s and all, yesterday also I got a message from her, Mom, I need your advice on something. Then the next sentence, it's not my problem, okay, my friend's problem. They said, they said like, ask your mom's advice. So I'm like, yes, I am there.
You have achieved that position,
Finally,
right? Yeah. And
I'm
people are
like, yeah.
coming to you for
Yeah.
advices. That's
Yeah, from
awesome.
12th grade, it changed it around. So that 3 years, like, yeah, I didn't know that what was going on.
Sure.
Over anxiety, everything with us also, I
Right,
lost it
right.
completely. Then it came back to me. She came back finally. Yeah, we rebuilt the trust, and now we are like best friends.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ajaba, how about you?
well, both my kids, neither one of them are very open. When there is something that they're going through, whether at school or at home, they tend to retreat in their homes. I've noticed that. And what happens, this is what I find, that's common between both my kids is I wait it out. And then I maybe like when I'm going to, driving them to school or driving them to an activity, when I have their undivided attention is when I broach the subject. And sometimes, my daughter will be like, you remembered that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a mom. It is a little bit. I did 2 years of my high school. I finished my high school in this country. So I have, there's a little bit of, an understanding of what's going on out there with peer pressure, with things, so and so has that particular shoe, or, and I'm like, it's a shoe. It's going to get you from place A to place B. It's little things. With my daughter, I feel she's more mature and adjusted than me. But again, I try to handle it when I know, because if I get them like right at that moment, I know they're going to just clam up and walk away, and I have lost them, and there is no getting that back.
Right.
So when I know I have their full, undivided attention, for me, usually it's in the car. So the music's off, the phone's off. I turn my phone up, I turn everything off, and and I start, that little. So what's going on with so and so, or so, what's going on with this, and then with my daughter, she'll like open up. One incident, I was driving my son home from in his first semester in college, and I was driving him home, and I started, like sort of like, doing this, like, so, how are things? What are your friends like? How are the classes going? Any romances? And, so that's kind of like my way of doing things.
Sure.
Um, I think I hope that they have learned to they will learn to like trust me fully, and they do, but then I want that 100%. And I
Sure.
can always like remind them, like like we're here, Papa and I are always here, no matter how bad things are,
Right.
no matter like even if it's like the end of the world, Papa and I are always, always, always here.
Right.
So it's a
Right.
constant, like I'm constantly reminding them. um, I hope that that they were listening and they will know that.
Maybe share this video.
We'll see. They'll be like, "Oh, you're such a dork, mom."
I know.
So, if there's one thing that you wished you knew before you started parenting a teen, what would that be, Ajapa?
If I knew then what I know now, that would be it. But um, it's it's not like this, like it doesn't work for every child, because I went from working in a lab at UPMC to teaching preschool. So I'm around kids, and every single child is so different. Both my kids are different, and and then I see my nieces and my nephews, and each of them are so different. So there's no like one rule for like this overhead rule that works for everyone. It doesn't. I've been tweaking my parenting skills along the way, and what works for me today will not work for me tomorrow.
Right.
It took me this long to finally get both of them to listen to no more, you know, no phones, no iPads, nothing on the dining table. Now that we're eating the meals together, I want you guys to talk. I think it's like this lockdown is like God's way of, you know, taking everything
Forcing
away
that.
and getting people to talk because you're stuck, for
Right.
24/7.
Right.
So honestly, there's no like nothing in general, nothing in advice. Just I take it one day at a time. Um, every day is a new day.
Sure.
Every day is a new challenge, and
Absolutely.
I just pray a lot that
That works.
we
Yeah.
all have the strength. So yeah, it's different. It is definitely very, very different. When they were younger, trip to the movie theater or the latest, the game would work. I even got my son to dance with me by giving him his he wanted this video game, and I'm like, okay, so call me bad, but of course that would not work now.
Right.
Um, so I don't know if I definitely like it's a learning. It's been a huge learning. This every day is a new opportunity to learn something new, not just myself, about them too,
Right.
and I'm in awe of how they handle the outside world. Suddenly we're in this situation where everything is online. They're sitting in a room and learning. I
Right.
can't do that. I can't. I cannot learn by watching a video. And I see my son and my daughter doing that. He's taking, his classes. They're both in classes. They're both submitting. They're taking exams. I couldn't do it. So I am in awe of both of them right now.
Right. Right. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Um, Raji, how about you? What
Yeah,
is one thing that you wish you
I'm
knew?
just listening. I'm like just learning from her, seriously. And I just want to pick on that where she said like the reaction that if I know that before, before even starting the teen parenting, so when to react, do not overreact, when to step
Right.
back. Because I feel like when I look back, all these problems, created like become like like looks like end of the world because parents overreaction. you know so that I should have known early, so I shouldn't be like overreacting. Just take
Right.
a pause, calm down, listen to them, listen to them, then yeah, that
Sure.
is the one thing I always feel like I should have done that. Now also, like it's really whatever happens, I'm like, okay, as long as you are alive, you're happy. Yes.
Right.
Now tell me what happened.
Right.
What went wrong? And especially when they start dying, It's like praying and waiting. You know, because that moments are like, So once I still remember, I just want to tell like a small incident, like her car got towed away. So she's supposed to pick me that day, and I had to attend another meeting. So I missed that, and I came to know that early, like this is what happened. So she has to go and collect her car back, paid like $400 or something for the towing from the college. So she came back and she came very late, picked me up from my place. I went into the car and started talking like normally, no reactions. I'm randomly talking something. She's like, "Mom, you know that, right? What happened?" I'm like, "Yes, I know." So you missed your meeting? Yes. And I have to pay this fine? Yes. Okay. Okay. Then we are like silence in the car. And then she's like, "Are you okay?" you know, so by the time I learned that, okay, the reaction, the overreaction, it's not going to take us anywhere. So I can do like, screaming or whatever. I can give her a lecture. Fine. She's going to get more aggressive. She's driving the car. I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm like, okay, now you know. You shouldn't be parking there. Okay. Okay. You learn your lesson. But it is tough. It's very tough to get into that point, like sitting there and
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'll tell you what, a lot of people actually reached out to me when I shared these videos of the, this show to different moms. They reached out to me asking if there's something related to teen. And that's why I came up with this episode where we wanted to talk about teen parenting. So before I let you guys go, tell me one thing that you would tell teen parents so they could be, they could it could restore their sanity or something because they are really worried. A lot of them, trust me. So tell me one thing that you want to tell any teen parents, mom or dad, that will help. Raji?
Yeah. One of my secret tip is like keep a baby picture everywhere.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Seriously, whatever happens, you stare at the picture and oh my baby. And this stage is tell them this stage is going to just a stage. Okay? They are not bad. Your kids cannot be bad. This is just a stage. Everybody is going through this. Just step back and watch and enjoy. Don't add to oil to that. You know, they will just come out fine because as a teacher also I have seen the worst things. I literally I put it out there. Okay, what is the worst thing can happen? Okay, they may get pregnant or they may use drugs. So I have to say like, okay, that is the kind of the end of the world, right? We have seen kids like that also turn out just great. So but don't lose the connection, please, because we have seen that also. Kids are taking. I know, like close. The one kid working in my center, she took her life. Like so. That connection part, don't lose it, please. Yeah.
Great advice. Ajapa, how about you?
Something I've learned: do not overreact. We are all, I know most of us are guilty of it. I have done it and I have seen from my experience, when I have reached that point, I have lost my son or I've lost my daughter. And it's like they clam up and that's it. There is no going back. I get the eye roll and they're out. I mean, even when I'm like having this in a reaction and I'm watching my son's face, I can see him, retreating back. It's definitely, something I've learned. It was something I learned not to do. And I know I've said it to one of my friends, like, you cannot get to that part where like in your head, it's the end of the world. Because in reality, it's not. It's not. There could be so much more. It could be so much more worse, but it's not.
Exactly.
And so that I always tell that you cannot overreact. Cannot ever. It scares them away. It makes them nervous. It makes them scared. And they retreat. At least with my son, I don't do it with my daughter as much, but I definitely, as a first time, First time in my life, I'm raising a teenager. First time in my life, I'm doing so many new things. And again, there was no book of instructions, nothing. I got the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. I got the book, What to Expect Your First Year. And that's it. That is it. And I always wonder if, how much of those rules I was supposed to follow. I don't think I think I tried to, and I failed at every single miserable rule that was in those books. So keep calm. Keep calm.
Sure. Absolutely.
And pray that they come to you, because, as Raji said, you need that connection. You need them to know. You have to let them know. And they need to know that we are here.
Right.
That's it's the one thing that it worked with my son, and I'm hoping it will also work with my daughter. They're like poles apart, but.
Oh, awesome. Those were really great advices. My daughter is almost a preteen, so this is helpful for me, and I'm sure this will be helpful for all the moms out there. So, ladies, thanks so much for your time. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Sandy. Nice meeting you, Raji. Bye.